Now, this were one comment that was said. He was also said he felt bugs, but that's purely personal opinion on his opponents. Okay, so let's go to Robinson and Floyd. Okay, to see who fought the more experienced opponents. Now, yesterday night I mentioned first 17 fights. So over the first 17 fights, Floyd's opponents had a combined 325 fights. Sugar Ray Robinson's first 17 opponents had a combined 955 fights. So I'm not sure where the he fought inexperienced people comes from. And on the next slide, I'm really hitting it hard. Okay, but Floyd's opponents, first 17 opponents, averaged 19 fights each. Ray Robinson's first 17 opponents tripled that at 56 average fights each. So there is myth number one, opinion number one, completely destroyed, and that is factual and cannot be debated. This is what I mean when I say I want to hear some factual arguments, not opinion by someone who doesn't have a clue how many fights people's opponents fought, etc., etc. You know, if you bring some facts, great. I will listen to them. But this argument is over. I mean, that's only 17 fights a career. But people say, well, Andrew, you're doing the 9-year thing and not leaving it all out, which would be a fair criticism. So let's go on to the whole careers of these guys. And here we are. Now, 10 fights or less, Robinson fought 9, Floyd fought 5. Floyd has fought nearly double in percentage the amount of guys who had less than 10 fights than Robinson. Fights 11 to 20. Floyd fought 3, Robinson fought 9. Again, so if you think about fighters they fought who had less than 20 fights, you know, Floyd has fought 8, Robinson has fought 18, but percentage of Floyd's career is massively more. Okay, now when you look down here, fights they had, you can look at that graph all you want, but if you look above 71 to 80 fights, Robinson has 27, 81 to 90 fights opponent. Robinson fought 10 men. 91 to 100 fights, Robinson fought 8 men. 100 fights plus, Robinson fought 16 men who had over 100 fights. Now, when you go from 71 to 80 to 100 plus on Floyd, they're all 0. Okay? Now, when you look at the lower 5, okay, so up to 50 fights, that's 25, 34, 37, 42 of Floyd's 48 opponents had 50 fights or less. Now, when you look at Robinson, he had 31 who had 51 to 60, 20 who had 61 to 70, 27 who had 71 to 80, 10 who had 81 to 90, 8 who had 91 to 100, and 16 who had 100 fights plus. So, what did they do in some categories? I've put some basic categories on. So, opponents, Robinson fought 30 fights or less, 34, Floyd is 17. Opponents with 31 to 70 fights, Robinson is 105, Floyd is 31 to 70, 31 opponents. Now, opponents, of course, like I said, 71 fights or above. Ray Robinson fought 61 men who had 71 fights or above. Floyd is 0. So when you look at that whole chart and you look down the percentages, Robinson in the bottom 5, bottom 6, bottom 7, bottom 8 has fought way more opponents. Now, Floyd has got a higher percentage of opponents between 31 and 40 fights. But other than that, when you get to fighting really experienced men who've had odds of fights, this is not even a contest. Okay, Ray Robinson has fought way more experienced fighters than Floyd has. Now, the argument will be turned to suddenly no one's. Robinson's fought inexperienced people, and the same person who said that will then say, oh yeah, but it's modern time and they don't fight as much. Yeah, they will try and twist the argument, but facts are facts. There it is. Okay, there it is in writing for you. Now, the percentages are 100%, the fight totals are, but the percentages are, I just kind of gave that as a, you know, there were some 0.2 or 0.3s, I just missed off. But there you go. I think that sets it out quite well. So, let's get on to my next thing I wanted to get on to. The 9 years, no one has fought the competition that Floyd has and done the work in 9 years. So, let's have a look at a 9-year period. Ray Robinson had 96 fights in the 9-year period, and I'm picking a 9-year period of his best, like the person picked Floyd's best 9-year period, okay? So if they can selectively pick, so can I. So he had 96 fights in 9 years to Floyd's 13. His record in those fights was 91 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 59 knockouts and 1 no contest. Only 2 losses in 96 fights in 9 years. Floyd's record over 9 years is 13-0 with 2 KOs. Now, they both had 11 title fights in that time, but it must be said all of Floyd's are for alphabet belts. All Robinson's fights were for undisputed titles, okay? Now, in that 9-year period, Robinson had 18 fights against champions and 14 fights against Hall of Famers. In Floyd's best 9-year period, he had 13 fights against champions and 1 fight against the Hall of Famer. So when you look at that, I'm sorry, I have to say this. There is no way on earth that I'm going to say that what Floyd has done there is more competition than what Robinson has fought there.